Do you find yourself looking into the mirror a lot lately? During social distancing, you have a lot more time with yourself. Or do you find yourself avoiding the mirror because you have no one to impress? You're not seeing friends, acquaintances, strangers. How does it feel to look in the mirror? Looking into the mirror and seeing our own image can bring up a lot of mixed emotions, good and bad. Most of us will be tempted to judge how we look, how we present ourselves. Most of us will be tempted to compare ourselves to others when we look in the mirror. Does how we feel when we look in the mirror shape what we see? Can you imagine seeing your face as a stranger? Would it actually look different? Can you imagine seeing your face the way somebody who loves you sees you, such as a best friend, or a sibling, parent, or even a pet? Would that perception change what you actually see in terms of shape and color, and proportion and line? Social distancing is a great opportunity to get to know yourself a little better. As we are further away from the people that we are normally around, further away from others, we are intimately situated with ourselves. Today, we will make a monotype. Monotypes are a form of printmaking. Mono means one. Type means printmaking. Printmaking is just what it sounds like. It means printing things. Your printer does printmaking, but not really. Printmaking is something that artists do, but it is similar. In printmaking, there's a process called transfer. Just like a stamp transfers an image from the stamp onto the paper, or your computer transfers a digital image through the printer onto paper. In printmaking, artists use transfer all the time. In monotype, you're able to make a print by transferring once and sometimes twice. Today, we will be making self-portraits. That means you're making a picture of your face made by you. Self-portraits? I don't even know how to draw faces. I don't know how to do this. You might say, do you know how to write letters? Can you write the alphabet? I bet you can. Were you born knowing how to write the alphabet? Of course not. How did you learn? You traced. You traced the letter A over and over again. And as you traced, you learned what kinds of lines that you needed to use to make the A. Were they straight lines? Were they curved lines? You learned what direction the lines were drawn. You learned where the lines meet. You learned the shapes that are in the letters. We're going to use a process of tracing to practice learning how to draw faces. But there's a secret surprise. Here's my final monotype self-portrait. Do you think it looks like me? As I made it, I practiced tracing my face. So even while you're practicing, there's actually no pressure for it to look hardly anything like you. You'll build some skills and make something colorful and exciting. The first thing you need to do is collect your materials. You'll need lots of different papers. You can use plain white paper if you have it, or you can use paper that's already been drawn on. You can use pages from the newspaper. This one seems relevant. I like to save old calendars and use those to print monotypes on. Any paper will do. It should be about the size of your face. You will also need a mirror. A mirror on a wall or a small hand-held mirror is fine. The larger it is, the better, and definitely not your phone. And you'll need paint. If you don't have paint at home, that's okay. You can make paint. You can make paint using cornstarch, water, and sugar, and food coloring. If you have those items or can get them, you can click on the link below and watch the video in which I show you how to make paint using those materials. There's also lots of other artists that are showing people how to make paint using other materials at home. Any kind of paint will do as long as it is a little thick, like poster paint or tempera paint. Finally, you'll need a paintbrush or your hands, or also a stick or a Q-tip. Anything will do, just to get the paint to move around. If you use the paint that I make in my video linked below, you can just use your hands because that paint is made using edible materials, and so it is safe to touch. Not all paints are safe to touch. You'll want to check the label first. Pause the video now and go ahead and grab your materials. You may want to have a roll of paper towels handy. Step 1. Set up. Get comfortable. Make sure that your paint is directly below the mirror. Get your papers and your brushes or other painting tools ready. Step 2. Look in the mirror. What kinds of lines do you see? Where do they travel to? Drag your finger along the outside edge of your face. Drag your finger along your hairline, your eyebrows. What kinds of lines are you seeing? Where do they connect? Where do they end? How long are the lines? You're already practicing. What colors might you use? You might use greens and blues and purples instead of browns and beiges. You can use a whole rainbow of colors in all kinds of unexpected ways. I'm going to dip my fingers in the paint and just apply it directly onto the mirror, tracing the shapes and lines that I see in the. Remember, we're practicing, we're having fun. Monotype is a very experimental process. That means that unexpected things will happen, and the unexpected things are what make the artwork interesting. I'm putting darker paint around the eye area and the hair. I'm putting lighter paint on my cheekbones and my forehead where there's a lot of light. Don't forget about your neck or the shadow underneath your chin. Don't forget about your nostrils, your eyebrows. This is a good time to wipe your hands. Step 3, print the image onto the paper. This paper has already been painted on. I wonder what it will look like when I print on it. Line up your paper with the painting on the mirror, press down, and burnish the back of the paper. Burnish means you rub your hand, your fist, or the side of your hand from the center to the edges. Now it's time to pull the print. Pull your print from one corner down to the opposite corner. Wow. Looks just like me. And I got to practice my skills tracing the features on my face. If you have any paint left on the mirror, you can make a ghost print. Take another piece of paper and place it over the remaining paint. And again, this time you want to rub even more to get every last bit of paint onto that paper. And then pull your print. If you still have paint left on the mirror, you can go ahead and add more paint and try again. There's no need to clean it off until you're done. For this one, I'm going to use a piece of paper that was previously drawn on. It's a little wrinkled, but that's okay. Maybe it'll add an interesting texture. So I'm going to take the paper and place it directly over the painting on the mirror, and I'm going to press down, and I'm going to just gently rub from the middle to the edges against the back of the paper. And now I'm going to pull my print. Wow. If you find yourself still wanting to see more of the face in the print, try making an altered print. An altered print is simply taking a print that you've already made and working a new layer on top of it using paint, ink, crayons, pencil, pen, pretty much any material. I'm using more of the homemade paint made from cornstarch and sugar and water. I had to make a second batch because the first batch hardened after I used it. The second batch of paint that I made much thinner. I stopped cooking it before it got too thick. I've begun to alter this print by starting with the eyes. I'm using a darker color paint to paint in some of the details and the lines that show the edges of the eyes, of the eyelids, of the pupil, of the brows, of the nostrils. Just giving some definition using lines and marks to show parts of the face that got lost in the monotype process. Using a color that contrasts or is different from the color underneath will make it stand out. Using a color that is more similar will make your marks blend in with the background. Let's speed things up so you can see how I approach this with a few different prints. When you're ready to stop, take some time to reflect and look at your images. What was something that surprised you about the monotype process? What's something you learned about yourself as you made your self-portrait? What mood or quality does your self-portrait convey about you? This video was made in partnership between me, Nicole Rose Gelormino, and Arts Ed Matters. You can learn more at sfteachingartist.wordpress.com or artsedmatters.org.